Welcome back to Parks of Some Parsimony. It's June, actually the end of June, June 28th, and here is a garden tour of my flower garden as well as my vegetable garden. I live in upstate New York, just north of Albany, so I'm technically a zone 5. Some of you guys ask me what's the differences between zone 1, zone 5, and zone 10, and that's just how things grow, how long you have a growing period. If you're in a zone 2 or a zone 3, you have a really small growing area time frame, and if you're in zone 10 you can grow a whole lot of plants and you don't really have to worry about frost and snow and things like that. So I'm kind of in the middle. We grow from usually the beginning of April all the way until October. Maybe we can stretch it until November. That's pushing it. Just depends on the year. But for now, we're kind of in the middle of the growing season, so let me show you how things are looking this year. The front gardens I chose not to fertilize this year just because the hostas have gotten so big. We decided we were going to wait a year. This year, when the hydrangeas came back from the winter, they ended up dying down way back. So this is a lot of new growth. There's not a lot of flowers on it. I suspect we'll have more flowers later. And I just put in more dahlias. You can see they're just coming up. These are the bulbs that I grew last year. There's a couple here. That little plant here actually came up from seed from last year, so we're going to let that go and see what kind of colors we get. And then we had some natural gas work done, and so these bushes are a little bit thinner because they pulled them all out and then I had to replant them. So they're not quite as full as they were last year, but that's quite all right. They needed a little bit of a thinning. So my roses are coming to an end, but this was an amazing year. They were so full of blossoms and we really enjoyed them. Now these plants right here, if you see along, these are all echinacea and these were volunteers. I did not plant all of these here. I had a small pile over here, but the rest of them have spread. So I will be at some point either selling them or harvesting some of the flowers because there's a lot of coneflowers here, but they're so beautiful and they're great for natural pollinators and things like that. And then the bee balm just came out, so this is really attractive for the hummingbirds. This year's been a really strange year because first it was a really cold spring and then it warmed up, and then earlier this week we were in dew points of 100 and our house had a hit 128. It felt like outside. It was really hot. So everything in the garden feels like it's behind in some ways. Other ways it's doing really well. It's just been a different type of year. So far, the companion planting of beets in the front here, radishes in the back, and then our zucchini have worked really well. We've harvested a lot of radishes and they've been absolutely beautiful. These guys are about a week from being ready to harvest, but I can show you ones that we've just been harvesting over here with the cucumbers. And these guys we've been picking and really enjoying. So I'm going to pick this guy right here and you guys can see this is a French breakfast. This was a new variety for me this year. Look at that. It's beautiful. Very tasty. We've really enjoyed them. And something very different than the normal cherry bell that we grow. My goal is really to practice some more companion planting, getting that intensive produce in smaller spaces. So the cucumber patch here again has radishes and it has beets, but the radishes help repel the cucumber beetles, which I know I always have a problem with. So really trying to practice a little bit more of that companion planting, and I did that with the peppers as well. You'll see I have all of these peppers, and these I believe are all banana peppers. Don't quote me on that. I have it written down. But then right here I put in some Walla Walla onions, and I have peppers over here. I also put more onions here because they're really good companion plants. 2 years ago I tried this with the peppers and the onions and they grew really well, and I had a really good harvest of onions. So they look like they're doing really well together right now, and the onions appear to be thriving. These are, let's see, I believe they're long day onions, so they're not bulbing up yet, but they're getting a lot of growth and a lot of green on them, and hopefully we'll have really successful onions in a few months. The celery had some issues. This had over 49 plants of celery in it, and we're down to about 12 that survived, but that's okay. These guys that survived are actually looking really healthy, so I'm not worried about those. And then once again, companion planting, I've added some hot cherry ball peppers, I believe. Someone gave these to me, so I put them here with the celery because they say it's a really good companion plant. So this is new to me this year. We're going to give it a shot and see how it works. And I did the same thing over here. I had another bed of celery, and not many of those actually made it. I think I have 4 here, maybe 5. So I put more of those peppers over here. We'll give it a try. I decided to keep all of the indeterminate tomatoes in this bed this year. So they're the ones that keep growing and growing and growing until I stop them from growing. So I have all of those long sticks here, and then I put all of my determinate tomatoes in the back, and I'll show you those in a little bit. I have some garlic that keeps coming up every year. I forget to harvest it. Some sage. And this is Grace's little pot. She grew the Sweet William from seed, so she put 2 of those in. And then a whole bunch of dahlias. She's hoping those will grow really well and be really beautiful back here. And then the garden wouldn't be complete without some pots. So this one here is a nice healthy pepper, again doing the companion plant, and these onions are doing really well. Today I just topped the pepper off, so this should encourage it to get more bushy and then produce more. So that's, if you're wondering why it looks a little weird, that's why I just topped that off today. And then I have a pot full of basil, purple and green basil there. And every year, this cabbage does so well in this space. And I think it's because it gets more afternoon shade. You can see we have this row of trees, and every year they grow so big. And this year we pruned them back quite a bit, but still it cuts back on the daylight. And so I always put the cabbage here so it gets a little bit more shade, and it does so well in here. I just put the bug netting, which helps a lot keep the cabbage moths away. And then you can see some different varieties. These are the Better Boy hybrids, this variety in this plot. And then I have the San Marzano indeterminate tomatoes here. So these are like a really big paste tomato. And then dill, that was a volunteer. I'm just leaving that. Purple basil, which has grown pretty well. We're just making sure we use it so it stays bushy. And then those are Mary's tomatoes that she has grown from seed. I don't remember the different varieties, but she put those in and she's tending to those little tomato plants there. Last year I ended up trying dahlias from seed, and that was my first year that I had done that. I took those tubers and wintered them over, and then this spring I planted them, and this is one of those plants. Not sure what color it is, even though I labeled the bags. I'm not sure what it'll turn out to be, but it's grown so much bigger than any of the other plants. And then we are actually going to have blueberries. Not many, but a few blueberries thanks to the cats that we got to control our rodent population. And then I don't remember the name of this one, but that's almost ready to flower. And I've got some sage, another one of Gracie's Sweet Williams, and another dahlia back there. And then just some more pretties that haven't quite started to flower yet, but they're getting there. Hello, do you want to be on camera? Yeah. This is one of our kitties that have been hanging around helping with our rodent problem. And they've been doing a really good job. This spring, I attempted to prune most of our fruit trees. It had been at least 2 years since I had done a heavy pruning. This fella here, unfortunately, did not make the cut in time, so I didn't get to that one. And you can see it is just hanging. This one really needed some deep pruning, but I didn't get that far with it. However, because we got the cats, it has kept all of our pesky squirrels and chipmunks away. So this tree is covered with peaches this year. And I'm kind of glad that I didn't prune it because there are so many peaches. So we're really hoping that this is going to be a great peach year. We do have an issue where we tend to get a black, it's not a mold, but like a fungus on it in the July, August time. So I'm not sure if we're gonna have that again. We've tried spraying for it in past years without success. So we're not spraying this year. We're hoping that we'll have enough ventilation from me pruning the trees that'll help keep this rot at bay. I don't know if you guys remember what this looked like earlier, but this was hanging, the peach tree was hanging really low, and I cut that up heavy. We cut out a lot of the dead wood, and this one is also doing very well with a lot of peaches. So again, we're hopeful, but you can see, and this is probably because we don't spray. We have, well, let's get these leaves out of here. See all those holes on the peach there? And that is part of what causes that black rot. The insects drill holes, which we don't care about the insects, you know, we can cut those spots out, but the mold and the fungus just get in there and then rot those out. So we're not sure how we're gonna do. Here's another example. I mean, these are organically grown peaches, so they're not gonna be perfect. They are delicious, they're just not perfect store-bought peaches.
Pull bugs off all day?
No, I'm not gonna pick bugs off all day. And our compost, oh, I tell you, this compost is unbelievable. Well, you're going to take out that potato plant?
Yeah, I'm watching out for it.
Okay. So the compost has decided to take on a life of its own. And Peter cleaned out the chicken coop with his subcompact utility tractor and has a bucket loader, and he dumped the dirt there. So we're using that in the gardens.
Mixing it 50-50.
Right, looks good. Right, because there was some sand in there. Lots of worms though. Let's see if we see any.
Lots of worms.
I was digging out a spoonful. Now that you say there's worms.
Well, there are worms.
Oh, there's a wormy right there. There's at least one. Usually you pull up a whole spoonful. It could be because it hasn't rained in a few days.
Oh, there are lots of worms.
Oh, there's a lovely little bug. Oh, there they are. I found the worms.
Okay.
So back to the compost pile. We have a volunteer potato plant, a very large potato plant. There's another potato plant back here. And then we have a massive pile of horseradish. Obviously, we chucked the horseradish roots. And
I thought it wasn't going to grow.
Yeah, well, it grew all right.
If I would have known that, they would have put it in the garden.
So we still need to turn this into here and just rotate them down. But it's like I said, it's taken on a life of its own. Look at the potatoes, Art, right here. Another big one's just starting to grow.
I threw a whole bunch of potatoes in there a few days ago, a couple weeks ago.
So are we just going to let it grow for the whole? Let it grow all summer and just concentrate on these two piles of compost. Come on, Tidbit. Come on. You can help us with all the dirt and the mice, okay? Come on. Let's go. There's another kitty. Did you find any good critters to eat or take care of for me? Oh, beautiful kitty. Yeah. Good girl.
I spent pulling weeds. This garden was, well, look over there, pretty much weeds like that.
What you see there is what this was earlier.
Yeah, well, I pulled all this out by hand, and then I took the lawnmower to the rest of it, and I put grass clippings here. And these were here from, you couldn't
2 or 3 years ago.
1 or 2 years, 3 years ago, we don't remember. And I said, why don't we just use that? And so these are going to be the bean poles. So I'm putting compost right here.
So this soil here is really, it's fertile, but it's a lot of clay. It's notoriously hard to work with. You may remember this garden I did a lot of work in, I think it was 2020 and 2021 when COVID was happening, and then, you know, life happened. And this garden has been dormant for 2 years. Last year we did absolutely nothing. The year before we tried to put tomatoes in these sticks and we just didn't have time to harvest them, and it got overgrown, and it was just, yep, there you go.
Let's go get another load.
Just, it wasn't good. So this year we're working on it again. It's not beautiful, and we don't recommend just mowing your weeds, but that's what we have time for. That's what we're doing, and we're gonna hope for the best and try again. I think she's hunting. Here she goes. Get him. He's like, I don't know what you see so exciting over there. Well, maybe I should check it out. Maybe there's something for both of us. Or I'll just protect you and watch you. So this is another garden. Again, this was the same time that we had the other garden over here that we did. I think, again, that was COVID. That was the year we did this one. And then we had this one. This one we did a little bit with last year, but we didn't get a whole lot. This is usually just pumpkins, just because of the maintenance. Again, this was super, super weedy. So this is Art's garden. He has done all of the work in here. There's all of our garlic that I planted in the fall. There's about 250 cloves and plants that we've planted. And then this was all weeds. So instead of really fussing with it, we put cardboard down. We did kind of that lasagna gardening. He put cardboard down and then piles and piles and piles of grass clippings. I mean, this is super deep of, wow, look at that nice wormy. All right, I'll cover you back up. And then we have watermelon. One year we had really good success with watermelon. I absolutely loved it. And then we have several hills of different types of pumpkins, along with, I believe these are the Jardale pumpkins, also known as blue pumpkins. These really grow really, really well. And then this is a type of winter squash, Piena di Napoli squash. I don't remember if we ended up ever getting anything from that, but that one's just starting to germinate. And then we have more squash, Waltham butternut, along with acorn squash, but I'm not seeing any of the acorn squash that's germinated yet. Now that the girls have the farm stand, we've been able to sell anything extra that we're not able to eat. So we've already sold some peas, some garlic scapes, rhubarb we've sold, and then we'll just continue to sell at the farm stand. The girls sold a whole bunch of their plants. We've learned some really interesting things from that, that odd plants don't sell as well as more common plants. Marigolds sold out of those. The Sweet William, people don't seem to know what they are because they're not flowering, so we haven't sold a whole lot of those. Sunflowers have sold well. We sell eggs there. Eggs we sell out every time. I think we'll just continue putting things out as we have extra in our garden that we're not either preserving or we just don't have time to eat, and so then we'll be able to sell it to neighbors and folks in the community so they can have really fresh produce. And I feel really good about that because last year we had so much produce that just went to waste, and that made me really, really sad because I don't like to grow things and then just throw it out. So now we have an outlet for actually selling the excess that I grow, and that just means I could keep gardening and planting some more. My back garden is a work of progress. I did not put in compost in here this year, and a lot of the plants are really suffering because of that. But before I go into the garden, over here, the asparagus, this was the 3rd year for our asparagus, and we did harvest some. It was very tasty, and this is now just growing super, super tall. And we also have grapevine. You can see the grapevine here. This one we had to buy because our other plant didn't make it, but this one did. And these are green table grapes. I know this one's green. That one might be green or red. I don't remember which one we put in there. We put in one of each. Oh, look at that. Ants and aphids. They both start with A's, don't they? Wow, I don't know if that's a good thing or not. So Mary grew a ton of chamomile plants and they are just languishing because they haven't sold. So she planted these. I'm not sure if they will come up next year because I know there's two different types of chamomile and I don't remember which one we got, the perennial or the annual. But she planted it and hopefully it'll take off and continue growing all summer. And some of you guys have asked how the girls' sales have been doing at the farm stand, and they have been doing very well. Last year, remember, they started mums, and the mums is what started this whole process. And so these are the mums that wintered over, and we've since pruned them, and they are looking really, really good. So we're really hopeful that they'll be able to sell most of these this year, and then they can start fresh next year. So when you walk into the garden here, these zucchinis, I had such a problem getting the zucchinis to sprout. So we are about 3 weeks later with the zucchini than we should be, and now I'm fighting the cucumber beetles, and you can see that by all of those little holes all over the plant. Those are cucumber beetle damage. I may have to put a trap out, or zucchini grows really fast. They may just be able to survive it. I don't know. I'll have to keep an eye on that. But then this year, someone had given me some endive seeds. So it's just like a lettuce. And that has grown really, really well. So I have a nice row of endive as well as broccoli. That's coming. Hi, Hannah.
I am going back to the yard.
Okay, don't get eaten by the mosquitoes. And then we have kale that I just transplanted today. It's not looking too happy, but that should perk up in a little while. Unfortunately, this side has been a rough side to keep weeded and growing with anything. That was supposed to be all horseradish, and I really only have one horseradish plant there. So not successful with that. I did have some carrots, but again, had problems with them germinating. And then the beets here. So these beets, I think in one of my earlier videos I showed you the beets in this soil versus the beets in my compost, and the beets are just, they're pathetic. I don't know if you guys can see it. Definitely not my best showing. And then this whole row over there where the fennel is, that was supposed to be lettuce and spinach, and there's like nothing. So you never know how a season's gonna go. Some things do really well, some things just don't do as well, and right now the lettuce is not my forte, and I think part of it again is I didn't put compost in these beds. It's been somewhat of a dry month, and I haven't been out here watering, and this is sandy soil over in this particular bed, and I think it's just not enough there wasn't enough moisture to keep that lettuce either growing or germinating. I mean, you win some, you lose some. Here's another example. So the peas, not surprised that they died because of the high heat that we had. And I did different 2-week intervals on my peas. So this was my second planting, and then I have a third planting here. And when it comes to my first planting, and this is what just is astounding to me. The first planting is going still very strong compared to my second and third planting. You just never know how things are going to grow. So on those beets, on the note of the beets, I showed you how tiny they were in the garden. In my raised bed, these are all beets back here, and those are almost 2 feet tall, full of beets. Swiss chard. I mean, look at this. So there is something to be said about my homemade compost. It seems to be fairly well balanced. The plants love it. This is spinach that has come. It bolted this week because of the high heat. Some volunteer kale. I just harvested a whole bunch of my lettuce. I have a little bit left here, but that's almost done. And then this year I'm trying just this compost bucket, which so far has been really good. I've been tossing my kitchen scraps in there and seeing how that works with all of the produce within this raised bed. So as soon as these peas are done, this spinach is going to come out. The beets should be just about ready to harvest. We're putting eggplant all in here, and that's a nice sunny spot for eggplant. These are some of Mary's tomatoes that she planted, and they are doing really well in the compost here, as well as some parsley, purple basil, and then a little lonely abandoned lettuce plant that she found, and she says, can I plant it? And I said, absolutely. All right, we're almost done. A few more beds to show you guys. This spring we had to rebuild this entire chicken run, and so a lot of these plants are just coming back from really having a lot of, they were stepped on and things like that. So this clematis has really outdone itself. It is really very beautiful, and it provides a little bit of shade for the chickens in the hot daytime. I have the garlic chives, oregano, doing fabulously. Look at the size of that. And then I have the sage here, as well as lavender, which is doing also very well this year. Back to this garden, I have summer squash, which is doing very well, along with more of these radishes, and these guys are going to get picked soon. They are just starting to bolt, which is fine. I grew them as cucumber beetle repellents, so if I eat them, that's fine. If not, that's fine too. And then more determinate tomatoes, so they can just kind of get a little bit taller than those tomato cages, and then they'll just stop growing. And then the cabbages in the bucket, they need some water. That's the one thing I have to say about container planting, is you do have to water more often. Container planting is great for some of these things, and like this spring when we had a lot of rain, they were thriving. But now that we've been a while since we've had a good rain, the plants aren't doing so well. So I think for those of you who are container gardening, remember that you're going to have to water more with those type of plants instead of having it in the ground where there's more natural moisture in the ground. Because of the warmish spring, we really got to jump on the cucumbers. Oddly enough, these are about 2 weeks ahead of the ones up by the front garden, and you can see these are about the same size, if not a little bit smaller. We've got some cucumber beetles on them. There's one of those nasty little bugs, and actually I see a couple more than just that one on it. So the radishes do help repel them, and that's why I leave them here with the flowers, but it's not going to solve all your problems. It helps. It's just not. And then these silly beetles just drop into the ground and try to hide on you. They're bad little beetles. If you're new to my channel and you're wondering what cucumber beetles are or how you can get rid of them, check out the video. I will put the link for it down in the description below, where you can make your own homemade cucumber beetle traps using tanglefoot and just plastic, yellow plastic solo cups. And it's really an effective way of controlling the cucumber beetles if you have them. But you can check out that whole video down in the description below. And the saga continues. Back in COVID, so we're looking at 5 years ago, 2020, Art and I bought blue potatoes, and we put them all in this bed, and we got like 20 pounds, if I remember right, of potatoes. They were great. And then the following year, we had a volunteer. We actually had a couple. And every single year, I harvest potatoes out of this bed, and every single year, they come back. The best money I ever spent on potatoes. So I might get a pound or two because there's not a lot here. I have one plant here and one plant here, but they're always purple or blue and very tasty. Okay, the very last thing. I have my third crop of peas here, just starting to show its age. The kale I let go to seed, so this is almost done and I can pull that out. And then I have more cabbage all under there, which that'll get all cleaned up. And as soon as I finish that, I'm going to put some tomatoes in here. And then in the back, I have my rattlesnake pole beans. And that is pretty much a full garden tour. There's a lot that's been going on. Still a lot of work to do. I do have a video that sorry, the mosquitoes are coming out really bad tonight. I should have a video coming out soon with some of our produce totals for 2024. Every year we keep track of how much we're growing, how much we're getting out of the garden. Last year was shameful, I should tell you that. But we're hoping again for a much better year. We're working a lot harder on just continuing to replant, and hopefully we'll have a really successful garden year. But thanks for coming along. Be glad you're behind the camera, not having to deal with all the mosquitoes. I hope you have a fabulous garden, and we'll see you in hopefully July for an update on how everything's growing. Happy gardening! We're using some old pole bean seeds that we had saved from a couple years ago. They should germinate, they still look good.
Yeah, these are ones that, like when you miss some beans and they grow too big, and then you just save the, well, you don't pick them, you just wait, and then you pick them after they're already dried out, and you save the bean seeds.
Or if you're like me this year, all the bean seeds fall to the ground.
Yeah.
And then we took all the plants that germinated and planted them right by the poles.
Okay, and if you're wondering why I'm going so quickly here, it's because the mosquitoes are horrible. I'm trying to get done as fast as I can. Janelle always tells me, Art, you need to love the plants.
Well,
right now, I'm just trying to get away from the mosquitoes.
8 o'clock at night back here,
Yep.
it's mosquito city.
Yep.